Okay, this is a bit challenging. There is not a lot of room to bring a large TV into my shed. But this is our next project. Repair this TV or scrap it. Hey guys, I can just see you over the top. This was dropped off to my shop for e-waste. I'm going to see if I can get it going. I have a feeling the guy said it either had backlight problems or it turned itself off after a while. Not too sure because a couple of TVs got dropped in the same day and I don't remember which is which. This is a Panasonic and I have the remote for it. We have the power cord. It looks in good cosmetic condition and I do need a TV for a project we've got going on. I've hinted at that a few times to you lately, but let's have a look at this TV and see if we can sort it out. Okay, the TV is now facing us and I appreciate that you've got nothing but reflection, but we'll power it up and see what's happening. First thing, I've got the remote here and I don't know if this is going to come out on camera, but it's got batteries in it, and to test it, if you hold it at a camera, you can see little purple flashing. So you can't see that with a naked eye, but through a camera you can. So it's a good way of telling if the remote's actually working. Okay, let's power it up and see what happens. Oh, it went on and then it came off. I don't know if it's turned itself off or whether the backlights flashed and then they went out. I'll try and turn it on again. Nothing's happening. There's a red light down the far corner there that's just flashing every so often, which is a bit odd. So rather than use the remote when I can't really tell if it's going on or off, there's a switch on the back to turn it on or off. So I'm assuming because the red light on the standby is flashing, it must be actually off. So if I press the button at the back, we now have a green flashing light down the bottom, but it's flashing. And the screen's lit up a little bit and something came on and then it went off again. So I think the backlights are probably okay. I think something in the power board is protecting itself and it's shutting down all the time. Not sure. We're going to have to take the back off and have a look. So now we're laying down on a couple of towels. I'm just going to take the whole back panel off. I think I need to take the stand off to be able to do that. And we'll just have a visual inspection of the boards. It might not be something I'm able to solve, but I always like to have a look. So let's get the screws out. Oh, the stand first. Okay, about 20 screws later we're in. Some of the screws are machine screws and go into metal, the thread, and some of them are self-tappers, so you do have to be careful not to mix them up when reassembling. Okay, I think I've got them all. No, there's one there I've missed and there's another one there. Well, it looks like the power socket ones have to come out. Okay, looks like we have got them all. Let's got the cover off. Okay, we have a few boards here. 2 power supply boards. Not sure. Well, that's the main power in. There's a fuse. We know the fuse is okay because it does come to life a bit. Just looking at the capacitors. I'm not going to touch anything because the capacitors will probably have a charge in them, which we will short out soon. I can't see any with bulged tops, which is the first thing to look for. Now, something else that I learned watching some YouTube videos is sometimes the earthing screws can come loose. So it's always a good idea to check the earthing screws. These are not loose, but they not exactly tight. But I don't think they were loose enough to cause any problems. Now, probably something else I can do is we had a red flash on standby and we had a fast green flash when it turned on. I can probably Google that. That may be a fault code, something to give us a bit of a guide as to what might be at fault. All these screws appear to be fairly tight, so I don't think there's any problems with those. I think it's more of a problem on the older TVs with the fluorescent backlights. Maybe plasmas, I think. So everything visually looks okay. Can't really see much on the main board there. I think I might quickly go and Google those flashing lights and see if it's a fault code for this model, and see if they can give me any clues as to what to look for. Okay, after some extensive reading online and checking out a few YouTube videos, I think the problem may be backlights, even though they did come on at the start. I think some of the backlights have possibly blown, and here's the main power driver there. This must be for the backlight circuit. And what happens is that when they either draw too much current or not enough, or some of them are blown and it upsets the balance, the computer or the main board shuts down the power supply because it senses a problem. So that's why we've got the TV coming on, the standby light goes green, then it blinks a bit, then I can hear the relay on this board clicking, and then it clicks out and shuts the thing down into standby mode, and then the red lamp just flashes. So I think our problem is backlights, based from what I've been reading. So with nothing to lose, I'm going to pull the back panel off, the bezel from around the side, and we'll lift this whole TV chassis off the main screen. This is the way I like to do them, so that we don't risk cracking the LCD screen. And to do that, I'm going to take it into the other room. So I don't have another workshop as such, but I do have our table tennis / dance studio, and the table tennis table makes an excellent workbench for these larger problems, particularly as you know how cramped my normal workbench is. So I've got some material down here thanks to some of Christine's stash of fabric that she has stashed everywhere, and I cannot complain because you all know how much I have stashed around the place, and generally we keep this room pretty good, but for jobs like this it's perfect. So I've got some fabric down, I've got some old towels down, the screen is safely on the towels. I'm going to try and remove the chassis from the screen, and then we can go over to this other side and turn the chassis up the other way and test some backlights and see if we can find any problems with them. I would imagine there's going to be one strip completely out or something, enough to make enough difference that the main board is going to say, hey, something's up, we better shut the power down. I'm sure that's what's happening, so let's get to dismantling. Now the trickiest part of this dismantle is the bottom section, because I think we have to take the speakers off. There's extra brackets here, and we have to be very careful with these tabs that go to the LCD screen. And basically we need to disconnect them and fold them out of the road. So I'm going to start with this bottom bracket here, and I might need a bigger screwdriver. I can probably use the drill for that one. Let's use the drill for these. Now these panels need to come off as well. We will need to do the speakers. It looks like the bracket comes off. Okay, the speakers can come off there. The brackets, these plastic brackets, I think can stay. What do we got here? Yeah, I think that can stay too. We'll get this bottom panel off and see how easy that is to remove. Now will that bracket come off? Or is there another screw under there? Oh, there's screws under the bottom. I think we will take this mounting bracket off. It's a bit confusing, this one. All these brands of TVs seem to be different with how they're set up. Yeah, that shouldn't have mattered, that one. But I can't seem to get this bracket off. I think we need to get the outer bezel off first, and then that bracket can come off. So maybe the outer bezel, we might just run around the TV and take this outer one off first. We just got to get the order right. We don't want to break anything. Well, the speakers do have plugs, so that's convenient. We can take them off. Wow, it's a bit dusty. And we do need to unclip the little sensor, the remote sensor. And I think it's also got the standby light in it. Yep, there we go. And we'll keep working our way around the edge and taking out all these bezel screws. They're shorter on this end, I have to keep them separate. So the ones across the bottom were longer and had a red compound on them, and the ones across the edge are much shorter and have a blue compound. So if you're doing this, I strongly recommend you actually film it or take lots of photos. It'll help with reassembly. Okay, these brackets are a bit of a problem. The outer bezel has to come off or at least be dropped down so that these can actually unclip. They pull off at the front like that, but they won't actually come off until that bezel is dropped out of the road. But I don't want to take that right off because I want to leave all the screen resting on the towel as we lift everything away. But we have to take this off to be able to safely disconnect these ribbon cables, I think. I haven't done one of these Panasonics before, and they all are slightly different. So I'm thinking if I lift the screen up, I can drop that bezel down. So I'm holding the screen with my fingers, and I think we can unclip it. There we go. And in the middle as well. Okay, now there's our finger strip boards. We have to be very careful with those, but we can access them. So I'm going to let this sit back down again now, and I'll put this out of the road, and I'll do the same with the other side. So I'll take these screws out as well. It's actually a bit trickier than an LG I did a while back. Okay, and I think there's one screw just under the bezel a bit. We'll have to lift it up a bit to get to it. So same method as before. If I hold the screen with my fingers, it allows the bezel to drop down. We can access this screw, which is it's the same size. Now we can lever this off the little button there and this end. And then it will come off the bottom clips, just like that. Now we can let it rest down again. I think these are designed to take the screen off up the other way and using suction cups, but I don't like lifting the screen. I feel that it's safer if it's resting flat. Now we need to disconnect the ribbon cables from the T-con board, although most people I think unclip these and then fold the fingerboards out of the road. I'm thinking I'll undo these ones from this side because they're an easier plug than these little fold over ones. And if we undo the screws, then the entire T-con board can flip over with the fingerboards. And I just think it's a bit safer doing it that way. Now the fingerboards still have little plastic clips here. We might be just out of screen. We'll do the one here. They just slip out of those clips. Okay, that one's ready to fold. Let's get the rest of the clips out. Okay, that one's now ready to fold too. So we should be able to lay the whole lot over. And the weight of the T-con board will help hold the fingerboards out of the road. There we go. So now we should be able to get the panel off that. We've disconnected everything there. Before we try and lift the panel, we do have to go around and undo little plastic clips on the second bezel, which holds, I think it holds the diffusers in. And they're just little plastic clips. And they're pretty easy to see. You've just got to work your way around the board, around the end of the chassis, so that they're clear. So I find somewhere on the chassis to give some vertical lift and just prise these clips. It doesn't take much for them to slip past the plastic holder. And as we get round the corner, the whole chassis will start to lift out. And as I get a little bit of height, I then like to put a screwdriver across just to support it We don't want to rest it on that finger strip, but just to keep it up out of the bezel. And I'll keep working my way around the TV until it's totally clear and it's just resting on the screwdrivers on the corner. Then we should be able to lift the whole chassis off, leaving the backlights, leaving all the lenses and the LCD screen intact. And you can see it lifts up quite easily now. You just have to remember there's actually two plastic bezels. The first one was the screws, the second one is little clips. So you can see now that both bezels have dropped down. We've got the corners supported with screwdrivers, being careful not to touch or damage the ribbon cable or the finger strip board there. So you see the bezels are hard down on the towel, and the chassis should be ready to lift away, leaving the diffuser sheets and the LCD screen safely on the towels. You'll see the strip boards here and the T-con board with the ribbon cables are just folded carefully away. We don't need to touch them now at all until we're reassembling, so all the delicate parts are protected. The LCD screen is safe on the towel and it won't be flexed, and now we can lift the whole top chassis off and we'll turn it upside down and put it on the towel. The other end, I have disconnected the speakers and I think I showed you, and there's nothing else loose, so we should be right to take it and turn it upside down the other end. And there we have it. There's all our LEDs. There's lots of them, and I'm thinking there'll be a few rows of them out, or at least there's going to be some. I'm not sure if they're going to be open circuit or shorted. I think open circuit, because I think if they're shorted, the rest of the row continues to work. We'll have to test them. I have to get this reflective screen off, and I think to do that, I'm not sure if that just lifts off or not. Might be just stuck on. Is it just glued? Or does it come off with it? No, it's glued to the metal. I think it has to come off. Oh, it's just sticky tape, but it's actually starting to peel it off there. Well, that's a bit awkward. I don't really want to tear it. Well, this is really annoying. This isn't going to come off easily. It tears. It's stuck hard with glue. It's taped as well. Very poor accessibility for anyone that wants to try and fix these things. I'm going to persist because I want to see what's going on. You can see the LED strip there. I'm not sure how we're going to test them. There should be some contact points somewhere. But I'm going to ruin this white screen getting access to it, and I don't want to try and buy another screen for it. I don't even know if you can. Maybe I'll just sticky tape it down as best I could. It's only a reflector after all. And if we get the LEDs working, you won't notice it when the TV is back together. So I'll persist and I'll see if I can get it off, and then we'll try and test some of the LED strips. So I persisted for a while with this reflector, but it was just tearing and it just was not going to come off without really butchering it. So I gave up there, but then I noticed the little plug inputs have connectors and they have a negative and a plus on them. There's two rows. I assume one is for the right hand side and one's for the left hand side. I think there's 9 LEDs in a row. So I can apply some voltage there and see which strips are playing up. The LEDs I think are about 3.3 volts or something, so around about 30 volts should be enough. Now I was going to bring my power supply out to this room, but it's buried on my workbench and the cords go underneath everything. So I grabbed a couple of my Makita batteries and I've just put them in series. They're 18 volts, so we've got 36. We've got a little bit much, but I think that'll be okay for a quick test. So I have, well, it is okay, it seems to work. I've done a little bit of testing this morning. and I'll put the camera back on the tripod and show you what I found. So when I apply voltage to the negative and the positive on this bottom row, we have that row light up beautifully. So they're all working fine. I don't know how the camera coped with that bright flash, and I did every other one and they all seem to work fine on this side. So there's no bad LEDs on that entire side. Then I tried this side and I couldn't get any action on the bottom line, and then every other row all the way up this side was fine. So I went back to this bottom and had a bit of a look, and I couldn't see anything at the start, and then I noticed that some of them are flickering. In fact, they're all flickering just a little bit. You probably won't be able to see that on camera, except this one here is totally dead. These ones have the faintest glow, so that is our dodgy LED that's taking out this row, and it's obviously mucking up the control board of the TV, and it keeps shutting down the power supply. If we can short that LED out, we will bring the others back in and they will work. It won't matter that one's out, you'll never notice it, and hopefully that fixes the problem. Now, how are we going to short this out? I'm thinking I can't really get under here, and when I could get under here, you couldn't see much on the strip anyway. The LED's under this clear plastic lens. I think I'll try and break the lens off and hack my way into the LED and maybe put a bridge or something across the terminals. Not sure, I'll have to, it doesn't matter if we make a mess of it because it doesn't work anyway. So we should be able to pop the lens off. Yep, that was really easy, given that some of these drop off in TVs anyway. So there's the LED. I'm guessing it just joins from one side to the other. I'll have to get a magnifying glass on that and just see what I'm actually doing. But I think we might be able to just pry the old LED off and scrape back where it surface mounts and just bridge that across. Now, what's going to be involved in removing this old LED? I think it's just soldered on each side. Yeah, I think that's soldered just on each side. We might be able to pop it off. I can't really use the hot air because it's going to melt all the plastic reflector. But I'm thinking just a little bit of a chisel action should pop that off. Let's see how we go. Alright, soldering iron might be able to clean that up now. We can get to the solder. Let's try and flow a bit of solder on there first, maybe. That's sticking fine. You know what, I think we'll just bridge right over the top of what's left of the LED. It's bridged right over it with a blob of solder. I think it's pretty neat. And it should make a good connection. Okay, let's power that up with our Makita batteries. I better get the polarity the right way. Beautiful. There we go, we've shorted that LED out. The rest of them light up fine. I don't think the computer control now should switch the power supply off. Everything should work. We've only got one LED out, and I'm pretty sure you won't notice it. So now I just need to fix up the reflector sheet a little bit. I'll just use some double-sided tape underneath and we'll start reassembling. Just to show you now, the reflector is quite good. I mean, I did make a bit of a mess of it, but double-sided tape has stuck it down, and it's only a reflector, so that will be perfectly fine. This is the only one I've ever seen that's been glued and double-sided taped so that you cannot remove it, because how do you replace a strip? You'd have to cut it off. Most of them have plastic type clips, and then the whole sheet can just lift out. But anyway, every TV seems to be different. Now to reassemble the TV, I've put the screwdrivers back in the corners so that I can rest it down on them. And this part is the most critical, but if you're careful, the TVs go together quite well. I've had quite a lot of people comment on one of these I did. Well, it wasn't a Panasonic, it was I think it was an LG, where I glued back all the LED lenses that had fallen off. And quite a few people said this method worked or was a good method, but a few people still cracked their screens because they didn't get it all lined up perfectly before they started to clip the edges on. It has to be millimetre perfect, so be patient, but I think it's by far a safer method this way than trying to manhandle a flimsy LCD screen. They crack so easily. So we've got it roughly in position. I'm just going to line it up really carefully and then just clip the plastic bezel back on. No force required. If it requires force, it's not lined up properly. So now that it's pretty close to right, I can take the screwdriver out and just lower it carefully. I've got nothing to hold on this corner. So there's a slot here I think we can lift. And now I can lower it carefully. That's much better. And that's fitting snugly. In fact, that little clip just clipped on absolutely perfectly. I didn't have to adjust anything. And that's what you want. The clips should actually clip themselves in as you lower it down, because then you know it's perfectly in line with the bezel. And now I can do the same this end. We have somewhere to hold in this one, but that's looking pretty well lined up again. It's not quite dropping down. There we go, that's just fallen down nicely. I won't push it, the clip hasn't quite engaged, but it is lined up within the bezel. I'll do the other corner now, and we'll lower this one down. Beautiful. I'm not going to press it down until I get all corners snugly within the bezel. Last corner here now, and that looks like it's pretty good. Yep, that's in as well. So now we can just ease the bezel up from underneath, and you'll hear the clips just click in. I think the secret too is if you don't disturb all the different diffusers, then they all stay perfectly aligned. Now that we've got the tricky part out of the road, all we've got to do is reassemble, pretty much the reverse of how we took it apart. So these finger strip boards just go in their plastic clips, like so. Be very careful of these very fine connectors. They're quite delicate. They connect the circuitry to the LCD, and if you damage one of these, it's all over. You can say goodbye to your TV. So that's why we had them bent out of the road, and we have tried not to move them very much at all. There you go, their fingerboards have clipped in. We've got our T-con board to reconnect, and the 3 screws to go back in there. Then we have to do the small screws around the edge of the second bezel, and I've still got to put the brackets on, but pretty much reassembly is fairly straightforward as long as you get everything in the right order and you use the right screws for the right positions. And then we can hook the speakers back up. We might give it a test before we put the back cover on and just make sure the backlights all light up and stay on. I have everything back together. I've double checked everything. It's all plugged in. All the screws are in. We had no parts left over except the lens from the dodgy LED. So that's acceptable. Before I put the back cover on it, I'm just going to power it up, and hopefully we'll be able to see the backlights through some of the holes. Hopefully it fires up okay and the backlights come on and they stay on. So we'll just do that, just for a bit of fun. So we'll put that in there. We've got a power cord here. I'm not sure if it'll come straight on or if we have to operate a switch. We should have power. I heard a relay click. That's fine. It clicked again. Is that fine? Backlights are on. And they're still on. They flashed, but they're on and they're staying on. So that's really promising. It means the computer hasn't sensed any problems and shut things down. It's running. I'm not sure if you can see those lights through the camera where you are. Camera in here, we can see, oh, you've got reflection going on. but there's definitely lights through some of the little holes there. Anyway, it's going. Let's put the back cover back on, turn it over, make sure and just hope that we haven't damaged the screen, but I'm pretty confident that everything went well there, and the TV should be in working condition, and I'll be interested to see if we can pick where that LED is that we've shorted out. So I've got all the back screws in, and we've just got to fit the stand, and then we can stand the thing up, plug it in, and have a look at what the screen looks like. Okay, there we go. She's vertical again. Let's plug the cord in and see what happens. All right, we have power. I just heard the relay click, and the green LEDs flashing on the standby section. Digital TV, there we go. Look at that. Screen looks fantastic. Oh, this is a smart TV. I didn't even realise that. So I don't have anything connected to it. We really need to have a picture on to see if we can pick where that bad LED is. It was on, I can't even remember if it was on the bottom or on the top, because I don't remember which way round I had the screen. Let's see if we can get some sort of picture on here. I might be able to connect to our internet. Okay, I'll try this remote. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, here we go. So I don't have an internet connection as yet. I just thought I think we're supposed to go to apps. See if we get some sort of full screen picture. There we go. So can you pick where the bad LED is? As I said, I don't remember if it's top or bottom. It could be down there, a little bit of a shadow. But geez, that is very watchable, and I reckon, you know, I'm going to put this TV in our Airbnb, and I'm sure no one will ever know that we've shorted out an LED to get it going. That is very watchable. Very happy with that. We've got a great TV, a smart TV for our Airbnb for absolutely zero cost. Now, the first thing I'm going to do before I run it too long is go into the settings, and I've got to find where that is. Menu, picture we want. This is very important. Backlight, here we go. Now the backlight's set at 60, and we need to turn that down. 60 is a bit high. I think 50 is fine. Sometimes these TVs, people have the backlight set to 100, and that's why the backlights, the LEDs fail, because they're just working too hard, and they will heat up and eventually they will die. So if you've got a LED TV, go into your settings, turn the backlight power down substantially. 50 is still going to be very good viewing. Contrast probably doesn't need to be on 100, but that's probably more personal settings. Let's go home or exit, and if we go into the apps again, that's perfectly watchable. It's a great picture. The backlights do not need to be any higher than about 50 or 60. So thanks for watching, guys. A successful repair. I'm very happy with this. It's very satisfying. I find it enjoyable to keep stuff out of the landfill. It was destined for the e-waste stream. I find it enjoyable and satisfying actually fixing the thing, even though I didn't really know what I was doing. It's pretty cool to get a nice smart TV for free that we can use. So it's a win all round, and I get to show you guys what I did and might help you guys save a TV in the future. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.